When you hear a high-pitched scream, like an F1 car tearing through a corner, your mind instantly pictures a supercar. But that sound came from a motorcycle, just two wheels, and it came from Japan in the late 1970s. That machine was the Honda CBX1000, a wild beast with an inline-six engine, producing a sound unlike any motorcycle that had come before. At a time when most bikes stopped at 2 or 4 cylinders, Honda decided to break all boundaries and create a machine with DNA straight from Grand Prix racing, but street legal. The CBX wasn't just powerful, it roared, it was defiant, and it was mechanically beautiful. It was Honda's declaration that they could build what no one else dared. A machine not made to please the market, but to redefine the peak of performance. And now, let's travel back in time to explore the motorcycle that left the world stunned by the sound of audacity. In the early 1970s, Honda reigned supreme in the motorcycle world thanks to the legendary CB750, widely hailed as the world's first superbike. But that reign didn't last long. Kawasaki launched the Z1900 with overwhelming performance. Suzuki quickly caught up with the GS750 and GS1000, lighter and faster. Yamaha wasn't sitting still either. The Battle of Japan's Big Four had officially erupted. Honda, once seen as the symbol of engineering dominance, found itself on the defensive. They needed a bold response, not just to reclaim glory, but to remind the world that Honda wasn't just about safety and reliability. When needed, they could be reckless and audacious. So, a team of Honda engineers quietly began work on the CBX project. They didn't just want to build a powerful motorcycle, they aimed to create a mechanical manifesto featuring an inline-six engine inspired directly by Honda's Grand Prix racing machines from the 1960s. The CBX became one of the boldest projects Honda had ever attempted, and that very boldness breathed new life into the global motorcycle industry. At just a glance, you know the CBX is no ordinary motorcycle. The massive engine block bulges outward on both sides, making the bike nearly as wide as a compact car. Its 6 inline pistons are fully exposed, flexing like rippling muscles, boldly on display. The entire bike resembles a mechanical warrior, long, low, and forged in steel. Its iconic 6x2x6 exhaust pipes curve like metallic flutes down each side, both functional and deeply artistic. The dual steel tube frame was engineered to hang the engine as a load-bearing component, a daring move that also saved weight. The elongated fuel tank and the tapering seat create a profile that's both sporty and seductive. Despite weighing nearly 600 pounds, the CBX maintains a surprisingly sleek stance, thanks to its balanced proportions, front to rear. From a distance, it looks like a mechanical beast stalking its prey, muscular, angular, and brimming with purpose. At the heart of the CBX lies a 1,047 cubic centimeter DOHC engine, equipped with 24 valves and air cooling, a mechanical structure so refined it feels like it was crafted in a laboratory rather than assembled on a production line. Unlike the more common 4-cylinder engines of its time, the CBX featured 6 independently operating combustion chambers, each paired with its own carburetor. A total of 6 carbs, something nearly unheard of in a production motorcycle. But it was this complexity that made it truly stand out. With a peak output of 105 horsepower at 9,000 RPM, it delivered a figure that was astonishing for 1978. Its top speed exceeded 135 miles per hour, placing the CBX right on the edge of what would later be defined as a superbike. Despite being air-cooled, the engine ran with remarkable smoothness thanks to its precise engineering, dual overhead cams, internal balancers, and a thoughtfully designed cooling and ventilation system. At high RPMs, it screamed with fury, but at idle, it flowed quietly. No harshness, no vibration. It was a sensation that made you believe machines, too, could breathe like living things. But when you fire up the CBX, it doesn't deliver the earth-shaking roar many might expect. Instead, it emits a full-bodied, buttery smooth tone, as if you're awakening a classical instrument, not unleashing a 105 horsepower beast, but just a slight twist of the throttle, and that sound transforms. It starts to wail, snarl, and come alive. The revs rise like lightning, and the bike responds instantly with zero delay. Its near 600-pound curb weight might sound heavy, but the CBX never feels sluggish. On straightaways, it rockets forward like an arrow with astonishing stability. The faster you go, the more planted it feels. You'll actually feel more confident at 100 miles per hour than at 40. In tight corners, the wide engine requires a bit more space to lean. But once you find your rhythm, the CBX delivers a strange sense of balance, like an airplane gliding effortlessly over tarmac. What's truly surprising is the smoothness. Almost no vibration, no harsh buzzing. Riding the CBX feels like conducting a symphony with your throttle hand, where each piston plays a note and everything flows in perfect, mesmerizing harmony. But that symphony didn't keep the same arrangement forever. In just 5 short years, Honda continually retuned the CBX, shifting it from a pure speed concerto to the more mellow rhythm of a touring machine. The first model, launched in 1978, was minimalist in design. Twin steel tube frame, no fairings, dual front disc brakes, and dual rear shocks. This was the CBX in its rawest form, light, powerful, and unapologetically exposed. Today, the 1978 to 1979 models are the most coveted among collectors. But by 1980, Honda realized the market was changing. Lighter sport bikes like the Suzuki GS1000 and Yamaha XS11 were taking the lead. With its wide engine and hefty weight, the CBX was no longer ideal for racetracks or urban rides. So Honda pivoted, transforming the CBX into a sport tourer. The 1980 version featured a small front fairing, Pro-Link rear suspension, and optional touring gear like plush passenger seats and luggage racks. In 1981 to 1982, the bike evolved into the CBXB and CBXC models, essentially full-size touring machines. The added weight came with improved comfort and road manners, but early fans of raw performance couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. The CBX was no longer the wild creature it had once been. It marked a turning point and the beginning of the end for Honda's one-of-a-kind inline-six legend, with fewer than 40,000 units sold worldwide during its 5-year lifespan. The reason wasn't technical, it was market-related. By the late 1970s, motorcycle buyers were shifting toward lighter, cheaper, and more manageable bikes. Models like the Suzuki GS1000, Kawasaki Z1R, and Yamaha XS750 offered great performance in more compact, affordable packages. The CBX was the opposite: expensive, complex to maintain, and weighing nearly 600 pounds. Not exactly what you'd want for commuting or budget touring. Its 6 separate carburetors made tuning a nightmare for anyone without advanced tools or skills. Also, the concept of a six-cylinder inline sounded impressive, but to many, it felt excessive. They didn't need jet-like sounds. They wanted a reliable motorcycle that was easy to live with and fix. The CBX may have failed on sales charts, but in the hearts of motorcycle enthusiasts, it became a legend. Too over the top for the masses, and yet that's exactly why it's revered as an artistic statement from the golden age of mechanical engineering. In motoculture, the CBX is a revered rebel, unlike anything else, unapologetically unconventional, and proud of it. Its massive engine and wide, flared exhausts have become an unmistakable icon. At classic motorcycle gatherings, the CBX always draws a crowd, not just for its sound, but for its rarity and unmistakable presence. Those who've owned one speak of it like a love affair, full of frustrations, but unforgettable. In the case of the CBX, that value no longer lies in speed or horsepower, but in its rarity, originality, and restorability, the traits that make it a living treasure. The 1978 to 1979 models are the most sought after, especially those in Candy Glory Red. In original condition, with factory exhausts and matching parts, they can fetch between $15,000 and $25,000 or more, depending on authenticity, history, and auction demand. Restoring a CBX isn't for the faint of heart. The 6 carburetors require Swiss watch-level precision to synchronize. Parts like fairings, OEM exhausts, gauge clusters, and even correct era handlebars are increasingly rare, often sourced globally or custom-made. But for true devotees, bringing a CBX back to life isn't just about rebuilding a bike, it's about reconnecting with an era when engineering still bore the fingerprints of craftsmen, not just the output of code. Today, the CBX is often referred to as a living sculpture of industrial design. Brands like BMW, Benelli, and MV Agusta have all experimented with 6-cylinder engines, but none have matched the CBX's unique fusion of mechanical engineering and raw emotion. In spirit, the CBX inspired an entire generation of engineers and riders to believe that sometimes a machine doesn't need to be practical, it just needs to make your heart beat faster. That kind of boldness is rare, especially in an era where every component is expected to be optimized. For Honda, the CBX was a chapter of its own, one that didn't follow any corporate strategy. It was a declaration between two eras, a transition from chasing market share to embracing engineering excellence. And the CBX, with all its strangeness and brilliance, stands as a reminder that sometimes the boldest creations are the ones we remember the longest. The CBX isn't a perfect motorcycle. It's heavy, complex, expensive, and never meant for the masses. But it's that very imperfection that makes it legendary. Because sometimes it's the machines that don't fit the mold that stay with us the longest. If you ever come across a CBX in the wild, don't just take a picture. Take a moment to really look at the weathered fins, the aged exhausts, the quiet growl at idle, and ask yourself, how many machines today still dare to be this bold? If you love stories like the CBX, leave a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Because here, we preserve the final chapters of a mechanical era the world is slowly forgetting, one engine at a time.